First, I'm very happy and very pleased to be here. You know, we decided to do that road trip in Atlantic Canada because I was not able to be with you before or during the last election. As you know, I took a personal decision. I decided not to have the vaccine. It was my personal choice. But because of that, I cannot travel by plane, by train, or by boat. So I'm living in Montreal, so coming to New Brunswick and PEI, and after that here. It's something that is doable, and that was fun because we did a lot of small stops everywhere, speaking to our people. And the goal of that road trip is to be sure that people understand and know our values at the PPC, because we have been canceled, if I can use that expression, by the mainstream media, but actually maybe not by your local newspaper, because I did an interview this morning with a Cape Breton Post, and that was 1 hour interview. I answered all his questions, and so I don't know if they will print it or not, because that happened. Sometimes I'm doing interviews, and after that, I don't know, because that's not in line with their narrative, they don't publish it. It happened a couple of times, so I hope they will, and I hope they will be fair. So that's the only way I can try to be on a traditional media, local newspaper, local radio station when I'm traveling. I understand that in Fredericton they didn't want to interview me, but in Halifax they will, here they did. So that's why it's important to be with you, and I want you to understand and very well our goal and our values at the PPC. So our values are based on 4 principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And when I'm saying that we are doing politics differently, it's not a slogan for me. It's not a buzzword. That's the reality. Because all our policies are in line with our principles. And usually, a traditional establishment political party will have a convention before the election with their members, and the members will vote on ideas and policies, but the leader will decide that is happening with the Conservative Party of Canada, the Liberals, and all these establishment political parties. So the leader will decide a couple of months before the election, after doing polling and focus group and survey, what will be the platform for the party. We don't do that. We have the same platform. Actually, the platform that we ran on at our first election in 2019 was the same one in 2021 and will be the same one in 2025. I don't know when will be the next election. Because we are speaking about real issues that are important for the future of our country. So, all that woke culture that is everywhere, socialism that is everywhere. I don't recognize my country anymore. When if you're a kid in Canada right now and you're going to school, your teacher may tell you that maybe you're not a little boy, maybe you're a little girl, maybe you're not a little girl, maybe you're a little boy. That's insane. That's not based on science.
No.
And we must, there's 2 sexes, sorry about that, but that's the reality. Yeah, that science, you're right. They're speaking about science, about the COVID-19 vaccine, and, it's based on science that you have to wear mask inside and outside, or 1 mask is not enough, the science changes, so now it's 2 masks, all that. But I can tell you that the last 2 years were very difficult for us as Canadians and as freedom fighters. I want to thank you right now and some of you that did some rallies here in Cape Breton. And in Halifax, during that time, you had and you still have the courage of your conviction. You know, what is, you know, if you believe in something and you don't speak about that openly with passion and conviction, you know, nothing will happen. So it was not popular to speak about freedom the last 2 years. I did my first rally in Montreal and we had 100 people, and the last rally that I did, 45,000 people on the street. So that's why I believe that the common sense will prevail. And the PPC, it's all about common sense. It's all about values and not doing any principles with what we believe. It may not be popular to speak about freedom the last 2 years, but it was important. Maybe it's not popular to speak about, for example, abortion in this country. But for us, there's no taboo subjects. And on the abortion, you know, because what happened in the US recently, I had that question this morning. Are you pro-life? Are you pro-choice? And what is the position of your party on that? I'm not scared to answer these questions. And the party, the People's Party of Canada, has no position on abortion because it's a personal matter. It's important for you and it will be a question of conscience. So in our party, we have candidates that are pro-life, we have candidates that are pro-choice. What I'm telling them, you will have the right to table a private member bill when you'll be elected on abortion. When I was a conservative, Prime Minister Harper did everything because he didn't want to reopen the debate. Oh my God, we will reopen the debate on abortion. You know, there's no debate. When you are in Parliament is for having debates. So it's important to debate what is important for a member of Parliament and his voters. So I said for us, it would be a free vote, and if somebody brings a bill on abortion, we'll have a vote, and that's it, actually, and we'll see what will be the result. That's important for us. We want to have more free votes in the House. And what I'm telling our candidates, the most important for you will be the first thing when you'll be elected, to work with us to be sure that our platform will be adopted. All the things that we are saying, that's your priority. But after that, if there's other important issues for you and your people in your riding, bring it. There's a place to debate that. It is in Parliament. So that's why I'm saying we are doing politics differently, because we, the People's Party of Canada, that's our name. So yes, I had the question, oh, your party is a populist party. I said, yes, we are a populist party, but a smart populist party, because we have a strong platform with great ideas, and I don't try to appeal to your emotion as a voter. I try to appeal to your intelligence. I want you to understand our platform. I want you to be able to speak about it. That's important for us. So, but usually when you're in politics, you have a platform for the election, and it will be all about slogan and focus group, and you won't answer the questions. But we will, and that's working because we started the party in 2018 with 0%, 2018 first, and our first election was in 2019. We had only 1 year to be ready for that election, the election in 2019, and we had 1.6% of the vote. But after that, the mainstream media said, oh, Bernie and the PPC, they will disappear, you know, they won't be there at the next election. But no, we are there for the long term, and the last election, 2021, 5% of the vote. We triple the number of people that voted for us from 1.6 to 5%. We had at the last election 840,000 people that voted for us. So we will grow. And so what I want to tell you, when you speak about what you believe and you stick to your principles without doing any compromise, you are able to do politics differently and growing. And actually, as you know, at the last election, I was not at the national debates with these establishment leaders. They didn't want me there, and they said, we have a new rule for you, Maxime. You needed to have 4% at the last election to be part of these national debates, and we had only 1.6%. But that will be the same rule for the next election, and we had 5%. So I will be there. That will be fun.
All right, right on.
And I'm looking forward to debate with these establishment politicians. So for me, they're all the same. The Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP. Right now, we have a socialist government in Ottawa, the Liberal NDP government, and a globalist government.
Yep.
You know, they are looking at the World Economic Forum and the UN, and these organizations are socialist organizations, and they are implementing their views, the views of these organizations here in Canada. We won't do that. Our goal is to work for Canadians, with Canadians, putting Canadians first and our country first, not the UN, not the World Economic Forum, us. And speaking about the UN, and having the courage of our conviction, I want to speak about immigration. The mainstream media, Bernier said Bernier is a racist because I'm against mass immigration and I'm for sustainable immigration. You know, we have mass immigration right now in our country. 450,000 newcomers will be in Canada every year. 450,000, that's the population of Nova Scotia, your province, every 2 years. So that is mass immigration. And the worst of that, the huge majority, 76% of them, are not skilled immigrants that we need to help us to grow our country.
That's right.
Usually a skilled immigrant is a person that will come here, will have a job because we were not able to find a Canadian for that job. Only 24% of them are skilled immigrants. So 76% of them are refugees that are crossing the border in my own province in Quebec at the Roxham Road illegally. And they are saying that they are refugees and they can come to Canada. But no, your life is not in danger in New York, in the state of New York, or in the US. And it's unfair. It's unfair because the real refugees, where their life is in danger somewhere, in a camp somewhere, cannot come to Canada. They are jumping the queue. So we need to stop that. We need to help the real refugees, not the fake one crossing the border in Quebec. So, and also in the 76%, you have the reunification of family. I'm not against family, I'm for family, the immediate family. So when you are a skilled immigrant and you decide to leave your country and come to a new country, it's a very difficult decision. You are leaving in your country, your friends, and part of your family usually, to start a new life. That's a very important decision in your life. But what is happening right now, so that skilled immigrant can come to Canada, but that person can bring with him or her his wife or her husband and their children. That's perfect. But more than that, they can bring their brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents, and they can all come under the reunification of family. So I'm for family, but I believe that a skilled immigrant must be able to bring with him or her husband, wife, and kids. That's it. And that must be it. And that was that in the past. And all our people that are coming here must be able to speak at least one of our two languages, English or French. And they are not right now. We're not asking them that. When I did my first speech on immigration, that was during the campaign in 2019. That's still the same policy. But I delivered that speech in Toronto. And in the crowd, we had black people, white people, Muslim, Jewish people, people from different faith, from different ethnicity. And I had a standing ovation. Why? Because these immigrants that were in that when I delivered that speech, they came here following the rules, and they had to speak English or they had to speak French, and they had to wait to be Canadian, and that was difficult for them to come here, and they were not able to have their grandmom and grandpa to come. And now they're saying that mass immigration. They're saying all these people, it's not fair. That's what they're saying. And they're very proud. And now they're Canadians. When I'm looking at an immigrant coming from China, I'm not saying, you're a Chinese Canadian. No, for me, you are a Canadian. That's important. We don't do any pandering to any special interest group. We don't do any pandering. For me, a Canadian is a Canadian. But for the establishment party, they are doing politics. They go to, I don't know, the Chinese Canadian community in Toronto. They're listening to them and they're giving them what they want. But for me, our policies is for all Canadians. And when I'm looking at a person from Chinese origin, that person is a Canadian. When you come here in this country and you accept to live with our values, the rule of law, equality of men and women, and freedom that we didn't have right now, but I'll speak about that. You must be part of our society. So that's why our policy on immigration, it is a reasonable one. And with that, we don't want mass immigration. We want fewer immigrants, 150,000 a year instead of 450,000. But the vast majority of them, 80% of them, must be skilled immigrants. And after that, refugees. And that was the case 10 years ago, 15 years ago. That must be the case when we'll be in government. But speaking about immigration, that's not popular. The mainstream media doesn't want you to speak about that. That's why the Conservative Party of Canada, the Liberals, and all these parties, it's always for more and more and more. For us, I know what is happening right now in France, actually. There's some gate over there that you cannot go. You cannot go there, it's too dangerous. So I don't want that in my country. I don't want any ghettos. I want everybody to be together and to do what they want to do. So that's why we have that policy. And we believe that with that we'll be able to build a country that will be freer and more prosperous. So immigration, it's important. We need to speak about that. But also it's important for the economy right now, because we know that 40% of these immigrants are, when they are coming to Canada, they need to have a house. But 40% of them are going to Toronto and Vancouver. That puts pressure on housing. The prices is going up. So the housing crisis that we have in our country, if you want to solve that, you need to have fewer immigrants. You need to have fewer immigrants. And actually the finance Minister Freeland, agreed with that. She said in a press conference, the challenge that we have with housing, it's a question of mathematics. She said we have too many people and we need to have more houses. But the way to solve that is to have fewer immigrants and a sustainable immigration. So that will be the solution, because housing is very high in this center, the price is very high, and it's coming in other places also, in Halifax, in other cities. So, but they don't want to speak about the real solution. They're saying we're going to build houses, but it will take time. And we are paying for that. We are broke. We don't have any money right now with the inflation. As you know, the last 2 years, Justin Trudeau spent money that we don't have, $450 billion. That was the deficit of the last 2 years. And when I said that, somebody said, oh, Maxime, yes, we had a huge deficit. It's too bad because our children will pay for that. I say, no. It is not our children. It is us right now. We are paying the inflation tax, 6.7%. Inflation is a tax. It's a regressive tax. It's hurting us, the middle class and the poor, because when you have inflation, and if you have assets, if you have houses and real estate, and if you have money in the stock market, everything is going up. You're very happy with that. But if you don't have these assets, nothing is going up. Only the prices of everything that you are buying is going up. So inflation is a hidden tax. And instead of taxing you and taking your own money in your own pockets and giving that to the government with taxation, the government is telling you, I won't take any of your money. You can keep it in your pocket. I won't tax you. But you cannot buy the same amount of goods and services with your money because of inflation. Your purchasing power is going down. Your standard of living is going down. Everybody is poor. I don't believe, I hope so, maybe I'm wrong, I don't believe that you will have a salary raise of 6.7% this year. Personally, I won't. If you don't have a salary raise of 6.7%, you are poor. But that's only the official rate of inflation. The real one is the one every day when you do your grocery, must be between 12 and 15%. So that's the real rate of inflation. And we are paying for that. We have inflation because the Trudeau government did this huge deficit, and instead of taxing us, he borrowed money, but because we have a huge debt, the private sector didn't want to buy Canadian bonds. It was too risky. So the Bank of Canada printed all that money and bought Canadian bonds. So when you have more money in circulation and fewer goods, that's inflation. You have more money chasing fewer goods. And you have inflation. That's what we have. So it's because of our huge deficit. But Trudeau said at the last budget, oh, no, I have a lot of money, so I'm going to create $50 billion of new program. That's what he did. He increased our deficit at the last budget. So the inflation will go up 6.7. The official rate will go maybe at 7-8%. And that must stop. The only way to stop that is to be serious and balancing our budget, to do that without raising our taxes. And we can do it. I said the UN and the World Economic Forum, we are sending money to these international organizations. We can stop that and save $5 billion and bring back that money home for Canadians.
Yes.
And same thing for corporate welfare. I don't believe that a small business here in Cape Breton will have subsidies like SNC-Lavalin or other big corporations. They won't. They cannot pay for a lobbyist in Ottawa. So we are spending $10 billion in foreign aid. So, not in foreign aid, in corporate welfare, sorry. In corporate welfare. We need to stop that. It's not fair for small businesses across the country. So we can save money there. And I spoke about foreign aid. Yes, Canadians are generous. We want to help everybody, and that's perfect. But we cannot save the world. So what we are doing right now, we are spending about $5 to $6 billion in foreign aid. We must stop that. We are giving money to African countries, to fight climate change, do you really believe that these corrupt government in Africa will use the money to fight climate change? I doubt.
What climate change?
Yeah, what climate change?
And also to build roads in Africa. So let's save that money, $6 billion, and bringing that back to Canada. But yes, if there's a humanitarian crisis somewhere, we must be there. We will be there. If there's an environmental disaster, we must help and be there. We will be there, but not doing what we are doing right now. So let's save money without increasing taxes, and we'll be able to balance the budget, and after that we will lower our taxes, and we will be able to control the inflation because we won't have any deficit. So you spoke about the climate change. You're right. Climate change. The climate is always changing. We know that.
Yes.
But we have a carbon tax to fight climate change because we signed the Paris Accord. So for us, we won't impose a carbon tax, and we won't sign the Paris Accord. We won't do anything for that.
Good.
And if a province wants to do something on it, they can. Actually, like my own province in Quebec. In Quebec, we don't pay a carbon tax because the Quebec government decided to have a cap and trade system. So it can be dealt at the provincial level, not at the federal level. So for us, no Paris Accord, no carbon tax, and also, the UN is promoting right now migration. For the UN, every person must be able to go in any countries. We don't want that. We believe that immigration and being Canadians is a privilege, and we must control our immigration. That's why we have mass immigration, because we signed the UN Compact on Migration.
Right.
We must end that. So we must look at every penny that we are giving to the UN, and if it's not in line with our values, we'll cut it.
Right.
We'll save a lot, I can tell you that.
Yep.
So I know there's some people here that were at the rallies that you did in Cape Breton, in Halifax, during the last 2 years, and I was part of that also in Ontario, Quebec, and I'm very, very proud of what you did, fighting for what you believe. But I can tell you that we are winning that fight, step by step, and there's 2 battles to regain our freedoms. The one is to change the public opinion. So that's why, I want you to not be afraid to stand up and speak out about what you believe. And I believe that now more Canadians are ready to have that discussion. In the beginning of the pandemic, they were not ready because fear, propaganda coming from government, and they were listening only the narrative coming from the government. But after 2 years, they know that that virus was not deadly for younger people without comorbidities, and that virus was deadly for older people with comorbidities. So what we did the last 2 years by shutting down our economy and lockdowns was not the solution. The solution was to protect the most vulnerable people and open the economy. That was the solution. So we need to have that ideological revolution, that common sense revolution, and that is taking time. But the time is on our side because we know that truth and facts will always prevail. It's a question of time, and I'm sure that I can count on you for that.
Yes.
But there's the other battle also, the battle in the court, and that's an important one. That's not my job as a leader of a national political party. but there's an organization in Canada, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. They are the ones that are helping me because I had a lot of tickets, and as you know, I won't pay these tickets, and we are contesting that. And actually, I was in Manitoba before the last campaign, and I did a rally outside in a park. And you may know that just because I was speaking with more than 5 persons in a park, I was arrested, handcuffed, and put in jail for a non-crime after a political gathering. That was political repression in Canada. We must fight against that, and we are doing that. But I'm happy to tell you that I will be with Brian Petford. Brian Petford is a former Premier of New Brunswick.
Newfoundland.
And he was there when we wrote the Charter of Rights in 1982. And he knows that we are not respecting of rights and freedoms in our country. So Brian and I are suing the federal government because with the help of the Justice Center, because we cannot travel freely in our country, because we decided personally to take the decision that we won't take the 2 shots. And right now, Canada is the only country on our planet that is not allowing their citizens to travel freely across our country. It's a shame. And I can tell you we'll be in the court the first week of September, and we may have that decision. Thank you.
Right on.
And we may have that decision before the end of December. And if we win, that will be it for everybody. If we don't win, we will appeal that decision for sure. And we need to do that because in the last budget, Justin Trudeau gave $37 million to Transport Canada for the next 3 years to be sure that Transport Canada will do everything for that restriction. Illegal, unconstitutional restriction will be enforced for another 3 years. So we don't want that, so that's why we are doing that battle. If we win, that would be the end. If not, we will appeal that. But for Trudeau, there's no emergency anymore. But what he's doing is he is punishing us. He is punishing me because for him, there's no political cost. He knows that I won't support him. I won't vote for him. He knows that maybe 10 and 15% of the population that did these rallies and freedom fighters across the country won't vote for him. So the political cost to do that is zero. So that the only reason to have that restriction enforced now, it's political control, division, and he said that actually during the campaign. I'm supposed to be a bad Canadian, and my fellow citizens who decided to have the 2 shots that I respect are supposed to be the good Canadians. So for us, there's no bad and good Canadians. We respect everybody, and that's your personal choice. Freedom of choice to decide what you want to do. And for Trudeau, as you know, is 100% pro-choice. So for him, a couple of years ago when people were saying, my body, my choice, that was okay. Now when we are saying, my body, my choice, it is not okay.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that I spoke with the director of the Justice Center, I believe 3 weeks ago, and there's bad news and good news. Bad news is the Justice Center lost 80% of their cases during COVID-19 about mask mandate, vaccine passport, church, when they sue in Alberta because you were not able to be open during COVID-19. They lost 80% of their cases. But the good news is they are appealing all these cases. They appeal right now all these cases. And I believe that they will be able to win. And if they don't win, they will go up to the Supreme Court. And it's so important because I was saying, and maybe you were saying also, when these restrictions were enforced, I was saying, and I'm saying that right now, that was unconstitutional. But we need to have the court to say the same thing. I can say that, but the Trudeau government won't do anything. We need to have one decision from the court. And that's why they are appealing all these cases to have a precedent. When we'll have a good decision, we will have a precedent. And when Justin Trudeau or another authoritarian government will try to have other lockdowns or stay-at-home order or vaccine passport, they won't be able to do it because we'll have a decision from the court that all that was unconstitutional. So that's very important to do that battle because we don't want that to happen next winter or another year. Enough is enough and everything must end, and it will.